Welcome to Bloomers in the Garden. I'm Len Schroeder, and today we're going to spend time in the vegetable garden. If you're wondering what vegetables you should start from seed and what you should buy plants for, we'll have the answers in our first segment. Second up, we're going to tell you which vegetables you should just sow directly in the ground. So no starting the seedlings. There's going to be no plants that you need to buy. You just put the seed right in the ground. You'll hear all about that in our second segment. One of the earliest flowering plants is the Hellebore, also known by its old name that your grandparents would know it as, is the Lenten Rose. So what's old is new again, thanks to new varieties. We'll introduce you to this old perennial with a new rebirth in our third segment. And it's time to make summer flowers by Winter Pruning. Not everything needs to be pruned, but we'll give you guides to what you need to winter prune to get and enjoy long summer blooms in our fourth segment. Lorraine. Hey, Lorraine. She's a listener who called the Bloomers in the Garden hotline, and she was listening to our segment on mice a couple of weeks ago, and she didn't catch the product that we were mentioning. So we'll share her call and the information in our final segment. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in the garden right after these messages.
Bloomers in the Garden is brought to you each week by Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Bloomers is an award-winning garden center just 20 minutes from Philadelphia. Bloomers has been providing expert advice turning brown thumbs green for over 30 years. At Bloomers, we want you to ask us every question, even if you think it's silly. We share information in a friendly, non-judgmental way that is meant to teach and spread the joy of gardening. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center in Washington Township, Gloucester County. For directions, go to bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden. Fertilome's Triple Action contains 70% neem oil and 0.25% pyrethrins as a concentrate and ready to spray. It is an insecticide, fungicide, and miticide labeled to use on vegetables, fruits, nuts, herbs, spices, and ornamentals. This organic OMRI-listed product controls a wide variety of insect pests and diseases, including aphids, scale, spider mites, whiteflies, rust, leaf spot, and powdery mildew. This insecticide is an all-in-one bottle that will cure just about any problem you may run into throughout the year. Fertilome's Triple Action has been helping gardeners across the country for years. Best to apply in late evening and early morning hours. Mix 1 ounce, which is equivalent to 2 tablespoons in a gallon of water. The best part is, Triple Action may be used up to the day of harvest. So, the next time you are visiting your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilome's Triple Action and expect to have the best-looking plants in the neighborhood.
You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or see and hear us by subscribing to Bloomers YouTube channel. Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley every Saturday. First, wake up with us at 6 a.m. on WNWR The Word at 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. Tune in at 8 a.m. to Bloomers in the Garden Radio on Talk 860 WWDB. A rebroadcast of Bloomers in the Garden Radio is played each Saturday evening at 5 p.m. on The Word, 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard throughout the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 AM WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So, this coming week, the weather's supposed to break. And I don't mean it's time to plant necessarily outside yet. It's close, but it's supposed to be in the 50s where we've had that it's been in the teens this previous week. So what are you supposed to do? You start planning, you start thinking there's plum tomatoes dancing in our heads. And you'd have to decide. It's like, all right, am I going to start seeds and have my own seedlings? Am I going to buy plants? What am I going to do? And here's how you decide. First of all, the different varieties of tomatoes that you can get in plants and peppers and other things. But a pack of seeds, like there's a there's a bunch. See this? I'm rattling a pack of seeds that's in my hand. So if you go to YouTube, subscribe, please, and ring that bell. You'll see me holding this pack of seeds, and there's hundreds of seeds in here, and even in some of the smaller packs of like squash or even tomatoes, that there's dozens and dozens of seeds. I don't think you want the same tomato plant in your garden where you've got everything is the same. Like if you buy, like, let's just make it generic. If you want beefsteak tomatoes, you don't want to buy a pack of beefsteak tomato seeds, start the seedlings, and then have that's all that's in your garden. No, you want to try different things. You want to have San Marzano plum tomatoes. You want to have beefsteak, Superstar, Jetstar, Supersonics, Big Boy, Big Girl, Early Girl. You can do that when you get plants. But if you're buying seeds, you're stuck. You got one variety. And we only have so much room to also start seeds. So make sure that you're not investing in packs of seeds and end up where you, one, don't have the room to start them. And number two, where you have one type of squash, one type of cucumber. So if you're going to buy a pack of cucumber seeds, which you can, and they'll grow in the ground, which we're going to talk about in our segment coming up, but you want pickling cucumbers. You want long or burpless cucumbers. You want regular slicing cucumbers. And you don't necessarily, if you're buying a pack of seeds, all of a sudden, you have more plants than you have room in your garden, especially with cucumbers. So start thinking about that, because there are some people that really, they only want, like, they want to do a big section of one type of plant and one variety. Great. Then that's what you do. But there's also some plants that you're just going to sow directly in the ground, and that's what's coming up in our second segment. So what plants do we want to buy as opposed to start from seed? Now just think about this. Peppers. My God. The selection of peppers that we have at Bloomers, like, first of all, peppers are every spectrum of the Scoville scale. And the Scoville scale will rate the hotness of peppers. Everything from ghost peppers, Carolina Reapers, to things that I don't have any idea why people in their right mind eat. But they do. They want to have that hottest pepper. I don't know. Is it a manly thing?
It may be so. I watched a show called First We Feast where they do the hot wing challenge where it's like 100,000 Scovilles of pepper. It's like at that point, what are you tasting at that point? Like, it tastes like TV static.
Man, it's pain. It's pain. But then again, if you want to get 4 Carolina Reaper peppers to fool your friends, here, try this.
Yeah,
not cool. But you can grow them. And then you can also grow long hots. I mean, we are outside of Philadelphia in New Jersey, Gloucester County, Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Come and visit us. That they will want long hots. I mean, got any long hots? Got any long hots? Got any long hots? We sell more long hot peppers, I think, than even bell peppers. But then there's another thing. Bell peppers. If you're buying packs of seed for bell peppers, and you have green peppers, yellow peppers, orange peppers, purple peppers, you have all of these seeds, you can just buy the plants. And you can have the whole rainbow of colors of bell peppers in your garden when you're buying the plants. So don't go crazy with buying packs of seed. I think that they sit there on your counter. They make you feel guilty. How come you haven't started these?
Because Peter Piper picked the pepper. Right? No.
Picked a pack of peppers because he bought seeds rather than just plants. There you go.
That was a simple
Don't be a
thing to
Peter
do.
Piper.
No, please don't.
So, but eggplants. Eggplants are another one where it's like, okay, first thing, eggplant Parmesan. I mean, it's terrible to admit. I don't like eggplant.
Neither do I.
No?
Yeah,
No? TJ, do you like eggplant? You're eating something.
No, I don't like eggplant.
You don't like eggplant. I think it's women like eggplant. I think like Danielle likes eggplant parmesan. I mean, it's like
just give me the chicken parmesan. I don't want the eggplant.
You don't want eggplant, even though like it's supposed to be good for better for you.
It doesn't taste like chicken. I've never had,
but it's sometimes soggy. So
that's true.
The point is that okay? So that's your standard eggplant.
Sure.
Black Beauty, been around forever. It's a great plant, does well, easy to grow. But then if you're growing a pack of seeds, you miss out on the long Japanese eggplant. You miss out on the white eggplant. You miss out on all these other varieties. That variety is the spice of life. So your garden is kind of monocultured. You just don't want that. You don't want that. There are some seeds that are just plain hard to grow. Okra seeds are hard to start. And that buy the plants. Just buy the okra plants. Herbs. Another thing, basil. Yeah, you may want a bunch of basil. You may not, no pun there. You want a lot of basil, a lot of parsley, but you can buy these all as plants. And not only that, you can have succession planting where you could buy the plants early and then, depending on the weather, May 15th is a frost-free date. Now, other crops that you can put in and harvest and then replace, that's another show. But cold crops are the ones that are going to be planted soon, and that those plants will be available. And it's going to be like Brussels sprouts, which takes a long time to go. It's going to be spinach and lettuces and all of those things that you can harvest throughout the season. And once it gets hot, they kind of peter out. And you can replace them with plants like herb plants, like, again, more basil and different types of herbs. And my gosh, it's just basil alone. Like there's Italian basil. That is common, typical basil. But then there's licorice basil, cinnamon basil, lemon basil. There's all these different varieties that you can put in with plants. But if you're putting in seed, you're dedicated to a gigantic section of basil. Unless you've got acreage, most people have a garden. So again, make sure that you're thinking about what you want to put into your garden, and don't be over infatuated about buying seeds. Only buy the seeds that you know that you're going to want a lot of. And otherwise you're going to kind of get sick, like beans. Like how many types of beans are there? There's different types, but mostly it's bush beans. Plant those by seed. And I'm going to leave it there because we're going to talk about beans in the next segment coming up. So we'll be right back right after this break. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Espoma Indoor Houseplant Food is the ultimate all-purpose plant food for growing bigger houseplants with healthy green foliage and beautiful blooms. Its rich blend of natural proteins enhanced with kelp extracts, humic acid, and Espoma's proprietary set of beneficial microbes. And because it's made in Espoma's state-of-the-art, solar-powered manufacturing facility, its quality is guaranteed. Espoma liquid houseplant food is ideal for pothos, palms, fiddle-leaf figs, monstera, and more. Just add half a cup in a quart of water and use every 2 to 4 weeks. An 8-ounce bottle makes up to 24 quarts. Feeds instantly and adds beneficial microbes. 100% natural and organic. Safe for people, pets, and the planet. Visit your local independent garden center and select from Espoma's entire line of Espoma liquid plant foods. Cactus food, orchid food, African violet food, tomato food, super bloom booster, and more.
If you're like me, then you absolutely love birds. The Bird Sanctuary at Bloomer's Home and Garden Center has you covered. They're dedicated to the care and feeding of wild birds of all sorts. Want to bring more birds to your yard? Then you got to see this place. Bloomers has a huge flock of feeders, birdhouses, birdseed, and much, much more. Want to feed the birds and not the squirrels? They have this absolutely cool bronze bird feeder that will drive those sneaky squirrels nuts. They'll be moving to the next door neighbor in no time. OMG. Bloomers have these absolutely adorable birdhouses that will turn your yard into the perfect bird B&B. They carry all types of wild bird seed, suet, seed cakes, and mealworms. Bloomer stocks, Lyric, Coles, CNS, Pine Tree Farms, and much, much more that will keep those beautiful birds coming back for more. Bloomer's Home and Garden Center is located in Washington Township in Gloucester County. For more information and directions, check them out on the web at bloomers.com. Bloomer's Home and Garden Center, you got to see this place.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So where we left off our last segment, we were talking about beans. I'm going to let you in on a trade secret. Shh. Sometimes it's just stupid to buy vegetables as seedlings. Beans are the first one. I think when kindergarten classes grow vegetables in a Dixie cup, what do they use? They use beans. Beans grow in about a week. It takes no problem. And if they left them in the Dixie cup and kept them watered, they'd get beans. They'd be able to harvest their beans from the Dixie cup. Beans can be closer together. Beans are the simplest thing to grow from seed, and you can just put them right in the ground, right? Not start them as seedlings. It's a waste of space. So again, when you buy, it always kills me with beans and some of these that I'm going to list. So a customer comes, do you have any beans? It's like, yes, we do. They're right here. They're 4 bean plants, and they're $2 say the $2.99 for 4 bean plants. That's going to do about 2 feet in your garden. I mean, maybe 3, and we're talking about bush beans. And the point is if you go and you just put them in, and you can do succession planting. What that means is all right, to get your first harvest, you pick your beans, and then say every 2 weeks, you're putting bean seed in, and then you have one harvest and the next harvest, and it doesn't have to be a big row. If you're doing 6 foot of beans, you'll be great, and they don't have to be, far apart, where they don't have to be 4 foot apart because they sprawl. They could be 2 foot apart. And again, beans directly sown into the soil. And again, we're going to talk about preparing the soil, but beans put right in the soil are one of those things that I would never buy as a plant. And I would never start them as a plant. Here's another one. I'm going to cut. This is called cutting your nose off to spite your face. Cucumbers. Cucumbers are easy to start in the ground. Super easy. You can start by plants. And the only thing about cucumbers and plants is you can get a bigger variety, like we talked about in the first segment. But they do grow easy. Corn. I feel guilty when we sell corn plants. I mean, corn will yield 3-4 ears, maybe. And so if you're buying 4 plants in a 4-pack and you're putting in corn, and I don't think do you really care whether you have a bicolor corn? What that means is where it's white and yellow on the same ear, or white corn. Just use seed. Corn comes up. It's grass. It's in the same family. So again, corn is one of those things. Don't buy the plants. Put the seed in the ground. But all these things I'm talking about, we got to wait till after, the middle of May. And that there's some things you have to wait later. Even zucchini directly put into the ground grows easy, but it needs to be more. It needs to be watered, but it also needs to be warm. So it's not something where you can do it early on, like a lot of the early things. Like tomatoes I wouldn't do. I would do just from seedlings and plants. I would buy tomatoes. I would buy peppers, eggplant, all of those. But things like onions, like we sell onion plants. But generally, one plant is one onion. Radishes. We've had radishes where they're big enough to just take out of the pack and eat. You do those by seed. You can start the seedlings yourself if you want, but it's also the onion sets are the ones that they're just basically onion set is like a baby onion, little tiny baby onion about the size of a marble, maybe a little bit smaller. You put those in the ground and you're just growing them on to be big onions, and that they're inexpensive and it's an easy way to do it. And those you can plant early. We're almost at the time that can be planted. Usually it's the end of March. Pumpkins. We sell pumpkins, but pumpkins grow really easily in the garden, directly sown in the garden. But here's a rule of thumb. Plant your pumpkins when the kids get out of school. So usually it's not May 15th. You want them so that they're timed right. Plant them later, late May, early June. It's hot, it's warmer, that they'll actually do better, and they'll actually be producing when it's closer to Halloween as opposed to coming in too early and then they're rotted by the time we get around to Halloween. But the key to success, no matter what you sow directly into the soil in your garden, is making sure you prepare the soil correctly. The soil, you need to add bumper crop. Bumper crop is a composted blend of everything from composted manure, barnyard manure. It has bat guano. It has like the kitchen sink. It has everything that you need. And that you're going to mix that and that in your soil, and that's going to make your soil lighter and fluffier, and it's going to also help it to be less compact. And the best thing, it's going to add mycorrhiza. It's going to add life into your soil. Mycorrhiza, again, that's the way that the transference to the plant of nutrient value from the soil into the plant. Mycorrhiza, it's a symbiotic relationship of a fungi. Okay, there's more than one, where it goes and it attaches to the root nodule of your plant, and especially when you're sowing seeds, it's a beautiful thing, folks. And that it transfers the elements in the soil to your plant. It's not like, the roots don't have mouths, but if you think of it, the mycorrhiza is the mouth of the plant. So it's in bumper crop. Espoma garden tone, it's in Espoma garden tone. It's in all of the tones from Espoma, and it's all plants, not just vegetable plants. It's flowering plants, it's trees, it's shrubs. They all use the symbiotic relationship of mycorrhiza. And again, it's something that your plants absolutely need. You need to work and turn over your garden. And on some of the things, like, again, you're not going to find carrots, so you have to plant carrots from seed. So, again, the deeper that you turn over your garden, the better your carrots are going to be. If they go and they hit a bunch of clay, they're going to be pretty fibrous and they're going to be stubby. So, again, you're going to make that soil nice and fluffy, and that you're going to want to go. If I would say the perfect is going to be a foot to 18 inches, and that's where your goal is. And it doesn't have to be year number one, but ultimately that's what your goal is. Working your soil like that will keep the weeds out. And remember, start putting it in your head now. I'm going to do a cover crop. And you can do a cover crop in the summer and plant in the fall. So think about doing a cover crop, and that there are packs of seed where, let's see, that unfortunately I'm holding up in my hand. I grabbed the wrong pack of seeds or sprouts. But there are packs of seed that are cover crops that don't have to be big areas. You don't have to do the entire garden. You just do a section of the garden. So again, if you've got any questions about growing vegetables or what vegetables you should plant and grow in your garden directly, sown directly into the soil, which ones you should start as seeds, or which ones you should buy as plants, call that hotline, 609-685-1880. We'll be right back right after these messages. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. We are proud to announce that Bloomers in the Garden has partnered with Renewal by Andersen of Greater Philadelphia, Delaware, South Jersey, and Southern Maryland. Renewal by Andersen is the top window and door company in the United States, specializing in replacement windows and doors. You might be thinking right now, what the heck do windows have to do with gardening? Well, Renewal by Andersen makes this beautiful garden bay window that's energy efficient and made from recycled materials. It's perfect for growing the finest indoor plants possible. When you are looking out your windows filled with plants in your beautiful garden, you don't want to see old windows that are cloudy, warped, or even rotting. That's why people in the horticulture community love Renewal by Andersen. Not only do we want our gardens to be beautiful, but their homes as well. Renewal by Andersen participates in horticultural events such as flower shows, earth days, and eco fairs. To get more information and set up a free home consultation, please visit www.philadelphiawindow.com and be sure to tell them Bloomers in the Garden sent you.
Is she gone?
Nope, she's still standing there.
What is she doing?
I think she's watching the grass grow.
That's our job.
I know, right? She's watching the grass grow, the flowers grow. Ooh, look, the trees are growing.
I can't say as I blame her. Remember where she bought all this stuff.
Duh, bought us there too.
Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Find us online at bloomers.com.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Hellebores. Hellebores, also known as Lenten Rose. They're not one of, if not the earliest blooming perennials. Lenten Rose, they're called that the story goes that during the Lenten season, okay, so Lenten Rose for those Christians out there, that a shepherd was called, and that the baby Jesus, the Savior, was born, and that went to go and to honor the Holy Family, but had no gift to give. He was crying, and his tears, everywhere that those tears laid, is where a Hellebore, Lenten Rose flower grew and bloomed. And they bloomed during that Lenten Easter season. They're long blooming. But a decade ago, you couldn't find them. It's like, we'd buy them as Easter plants. Yeah, whatever. Because what happens is that the old varieties, we don't have to deal with this, but the old varieties, the flowers were like pendulous, so that you'd have to almost lay on the ground to see the color of the flowers. You could see the outline, but it was always the back of the flower that you saw. You never saw, it's like, is that white? I can't tell. And now, today, this is, I don't know. Aaron, it's a battle again. It's a battle of the natives. I don't want a native Hellebore. The old varieties of the Hellebores were awful, only because you could never see the flowers. The new varieties, their flowers are facing up, so you can look into them and you can see them.
Like a weed?
Not like a weed. I mean,
that's like the biggest argument, though, I think.
Well, on natives, like a lot of them were weeds, but these were just, not great plants, but they are today.
Okay.
So hellebores today are fantastic. I mean, it is amazing. So they have great foliage. They're shade tolerant. They're deer resistant. They bloom for probably 3 months. It is an incredible plant. And the thing was, the foliage used to be just green. Now it has a little bit of variegation to it. The colors of the flowers generally were white. Now they're white, yellow, green, pink, plum, dark midnight purple.
Yeah, we have
almost black.
We had that mahogany one.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. First time.
Yeah, and again, it's they can grow in the shade. I mean, how many times do we hear? Do you have anything to grow in the shade? All the time. So when you go to the garden center, I want you to look for, first of all, the Frost Kiss is the variety. So Hellebore is a plant, and that it's the variety, or the family name that they labeled it as Frost Kiss. And there's lots of different colors in that series. And again, the flower stems are held strongly upright on the plant. The leaves are veined and they create it. Sometimes some of the varieties, depending on the color, it's like a marbled color. The Frost Kiss series can take full sun in climates where milder summers, and if the roots are kept cool. So most of the time, hellebores can't take like full sun. But what happens is they just kind of go dormant if they're in full sun. So you'll get them, and that when we get to the heat of the summer, they kind of say, all right, I'm done. One of the coolest varieties is Wedding Party. They are double flowers. Double flowers. These were debuted in 2015, so 10 years ago. And Walter's Gardens was a hybridizer. Hans Hansen. He's either German or Dutch. He has been working in the breeding program of hellebores for years and years. And it's the other thing, it's like you don't get just a couple of flowers. You get a lot of flowers, and it's like a bouquet when it blooms. There's the Honeymoon series, also from Hans and Walter's Gardens. Again, large amount of colors, and the flower color is a rich color. It's not like the yellow, you're not sure if it's white or yellow because it's got more green in it, that the yellow is a pure yellow. And they have apricot, black, mauve, purple, white, wine red, and pink. It is a fantastic series. And then, not to be left out, there's Hellebore's Ice and Roses. Same thing, outward-facing flowers. And that, again, it's the first flowers that you're going to see. And they flower for a long time. And that, just plant them. You can plant them in containers, but you got to remember that when it gets hot, they're going to kind of peter out a little bit. But they are in shade, they're going to stay. So if you have them in a planter in full sun, it's going to do great during the early part of the spring and for most of the spring. But by the time you're getting to June, it's saying, all right, I should be in shade. So you can always transplant them. But it's something that looks fantastic at the end of February, March, April, and May. So again, you got to get the right varieties. And the right varieties, we're going to go through them slow, okay? So focus in. Frost Kiss, and that these are series. This is a family of different colored hellebores. Frost Kiss, okay, Wedding Party, Honeymoon, same hybridizer. Get the connection, Wedding Party, Honeymoon, okay? And then Ice and Roses. Fantastic series. Hellebores are the way to go. Go to your garden center. They will just be getting them now. Next week, we're talking about weather in the 50s, or this coming week, we got weather in the 50s. It's going to be time to get them out. I tell you what, the only negative thing I can say about hellebores, they are toxic when you eat them. All right, so, I mean, it's toxic in a way that it's not like deadly poison like hemlock. Hemlock's supposed to be poison too. So anyway, so hellebores, they're just going to get you sick if you go and you start eating them. But you have no reason to eat them. Some people may have like a little allergic reactions. Some people are allergic to like latex. It's kind of like that where, it gets skin irritation. But if you have that issue, you wear gloves when you use them. But it is not a reason not to use them. Okay? Animals are smart. Okay? It's people that are dumb. Animals are going to stay away from them. And like, if you're going to go and eat a hellebore, you're going to eat another plant too. So look, don't not use hellebores because of that reason. I don't think there has been any registered person who died from eating a hellebore. I can tell you that right now. It's kind of like poinsettias where, everybody says they're poisonous. Well, they actually aren't. Hellebores are going to give you some stomach discomfort. Know what I mean, Aaron?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, if you've got questions about hellebores, please call the hotline. This is an underused plant that will, it'll amaze your friends and family. It is a beautiful plant. I want everybody to get the most out of them. Hellebores, also known as Lenten Rose, and you're looking for these series. We endorse these series because they're beautiful, and we know because we've seen them and we've sold them. Frost Kiss, Wedding Party, Honeymoon Series, and Ice and Roses. We'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
Fertilome's Triple Action contains 70% neem oil and 0.25% pyrethrins as a concentrate and ready to spray. It is an insecticide, fungicide, and miticide labeled to use on vegetables, fruits, nuts, herbs, spices, and ornamentals. This organic OMRI-listed product controls a wide variety of insect pests and diseases, including aphids, scale, spider mites, whiteflies, rust, leaf spot, and powdery mildew. This insecticide is an all-in-one bottle that will cure just about any problem you may run into throughout the year. Fertilome's Triple Action has been helping gardeners across the country for years. Best to apply in late evening and early morning hours. Mix 1 ounce, which is equivalent to 2 tablespoons in a gallon of water. The best part is Triple Action may be used up to the day of harvest. So the next time you are visiting your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilome's Triple Action and expect to have the best-looking plants in the neighborhood.
If you're looking for a specific potting soil for your house plants rather than just a generic professional potting soil that sometimes, let's just say, it can be a little soggy, the Cape Netic Blend Organic and Natural Indoor Houseplant Mix from Coast of Maine is what you're looking for. It's specially formulated for indoor houseplants and flowers using a coarse coconut core, that's important, perlite, and aged bark to optimize drainage and aeration for robust root development. The coconut core is what true gardeners and professionals are looking to replace some of the peat moss that are in most potting soil blends. It adds a little more air around the root system without having it dry out. The peat sometimes gets a little wet. Do you have any fungus gnats flying around? That happens too. So if you've got the coconut core in your mix, it's something that's going to be better certainly for indoor houseplants. So whether you're growing peace lilies, spider plants, philodendrons, monsteras, or other popular or exotic houseplants, this unique compost-free blend provides the optimum structure and benefits for nurturing strong, beautiful indoor plants. And again, that's the Cape Netic Blend Indoor Houseplant Mix by Coast of Maine. Look for it at your local garden center. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Hey, one of our favorite expressions here on the show is, don't fear the shears. This is the time to do winter pruning. Winter pruning. What the heck does that mean? A lot of people are afraid to do winter pruning, but it's the first job really to get out and do when you're looking for something to do in the garden and the weather heats up a little bit. You're going to want to prune on a mild, dry day. And what's the advantages? You ever wonder why some plants like that some people have, like all of a sudden, how come, your spirea are looking tremendous? They're blooming like crazy. Or you have some of the different, like St. John's wort. I love St. John's wort. It is a great plant. And that your roses, you need to cut down your roses. We say leave your rose hips on through the winter, but now is the time we're gonna prune them. So what am I talking about? You're going to cut back, and you're going to cut your plants that have, a lot of them are grown wild. But, I want to start, and we talk about it all the time. New wood, old wood. Old wood is what are on your plants right now. Any of the early flowering plants, such as azaleas, rhododendrons, lilacs, all the ones that come out with their flowers now and flower first, then get their leaves. A lot of those plants are even the hydrangeas. There are two different hydrangeas that we're going to talk about. First hydrangea is the one that will flower in mid to late spring. It's the large-leafed hydrangea. Some people call it snowball bush, but it's Hydrangea macrophylla. Macrophylla are the ones that when you think of a blue hydrangea or pink hydrangea, that's what we're talking about. Those should not be touched. I don't want anybody to be confused. Those varieties that bloom on their new wood first and always have a best shows, even the reoccurring varieties, like the reoccurring, reblooming, ever blooming, endless summer, all those, their first bloom cycle is always the best. So leave those alone for now. It's the ones that will flower in late summer into fall. Those are the ones that can be trimmed back now. And I would only cut them back, depending on how big your plant is, if you cut it back a third. And that goes for all of the things that we're going to talk about here. It's actually a rule. It's the 1/3 rule. And it's to open up the plant so that light and air can reach the interior. And it helps, and again, the flower and bud formation, and it reduces disease issues. So consider the 1/3, remove about 1/3 of the oldest wood, which is basically the stem. So you go back 1/3. And then you cut it back to, of 1/3. So the newer canes will grow, and that they'll be fuller, and it will renew the plant. And that you're going to do this again. You don't have to do it today, but now's the time to start thinking about it. So don't wait. You can't wait until, end of April. It has to be winter pruning. So we're talking about before the end of March. So this should be done really before the 3rd week of March, and it will help your plant. So here's something. It's a great time to prune crabapple trees, ash trees, walnut, beeches, lindens. Now, you need to pay attention that, the temperature isn't going to be going down into the teens. You have to keep an eye on the weather. So if it's going to be in the 20s, it's not a big deal. Apples, peaches, and pears, so fruit trees, can be pruned. But again, you got to know that the actual variety that you're working with, but that will help them. And you're going to focus on the fact that they have to bear the weight of the fruit. So you're kind of making a stronger plant, not spindly stems or twigs that are going to all of a sudden pull and sometimes just break. Ornamental flowering trees, cherries and plums, you got to check them. There's a disease that gets in them called black knot, and that's what it looks like. It looks like a black knot that will get along the stem, and it's time to cut those out. And that make sure you cut those limbs back 4 to 6 inches below that growth, and do not leave them laying around because it's going to spread to the tree and to other trees. You want that right in the trash. One of the things you don't want to prune are any maple trees, and then we're talking about native red maples. If you like maple syrup on your pancakes, same thing happens. The sap is running, and that's February through April, so you don't want them to sit there bleeding. So don't prune maple trees. Got it? Shrubs and bushes that flower in the spring before the end of June, you don't prune those either, unless you're trying to reduce the size and you're okay with not having flowers. We get it all the time. It's like, how come my azaleas never bloom? It's like, well, if you're winter pruning your azaleas, you're cutting off all the flowers. Anything that's going to flower before the end of June should not be pruned. And just again, lilacs, magnolias, azaleas, dogwoods, quinces, mock orange, woodgelia, any of those early flowering shrubs you do not want to prune now. Now, you can prune them after they bloom. Again, right after they bloom, that's a great time to prune. There are certain varieties that you want to just keep an eye on. But, again, the way that God has made things is that they're going to put out their first set of growth, and that may be flowers and leaves, or it might be leaves first, then flowers. But then it gets a second shot of growth after that. And that, again, you want to make sure that you're pruning so that you're helping the plant. And so it's not like every single plant in your landscape you're going to prune. There's just a handful, and it's mostly the summer flowering shrubs that you're going to prune. And included in that are roses. You're going to open up those roses and prune them down, and it's going to seem like this doesn't feel right, but you're going to do it. You only want to have about at the tallest, 18 inches of canes above the soil, and that you're going to want to select the healthiest canes so that it is open, so there's airflow circulation. You remember last summer? Black spot, all the diseases. I've got a spray. If you prune them now and you open that up so that there's air circulation, it will help those diseases. So make sure that you get in there and you prune them out, and you leave maybe 5 or 6 canes, anywhere from, I guess, the size of your middle finger. You want to make sure that they're not too big and too fat, but you also don't want them to be too small either. So you're going to want to put them in there, and do hybrids. Go ahead and do your shrub roses too. And the only reason I say that is because shrub roses are going to put on healthy growth, and they're going to look good, but they're getting diseases in them now. It used to be like, oh, they don't get diseases. Well, guess what? They do. Here's another list. Again, we're talking about Itea, which is sweet spire, potentilla, chinkfoil, spireas. Spireas, you will be amazed on how great they look. Vitex, chase tree. Any of you know what Vitex is? It's a great plant. It's a great plant. It's a time to get out there and do some pruning. If you're worried about messing up, don't. Because even if you cut them out, and what did Seth say last week? Seth from the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, he said it's like one of the best feelings is when you get out there and you do pruning because the results show. And I'd agree with him. So do your winter pruning, get out there, get ready. Some of the tools that you're going to need a good pruner, not a crappy pruner. You want a pruner that's a scissor type pruner. You don't want an anvil type pruner to where it crushes the branch before it cuts it. You want to get a pair of loppers for any of those trees that you're dealing with. You even want to look at a folding pruning saw. That'll make things a lot easier. I also, Julio, if you're listening, I brought a hoary knife for Julio, because Hori knives have a serrated blade and can actually do some pruning. I've used mine to do as a pole saw. No, not pole saw, as a tree saw. So, again, get out there, do the pruning. Don't fear the shears. You're not going to kill your plant. Just do it, and you'd be surprised. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, my gosh. Be the envy of the neighborhood. We'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Here's the dirt on potting mixes. They're not all created equal. Espoma Organic Potting Mix gives roots the ideal balance of air and moisture. It contains a special blend of beneficial mycorrhiza to help grow stronger roots, bigger plants, and more bountiful blooms. Try Espoma Organic Potting Mix indoors and out for all your potted flowers, vegetables, and you'll see why it's the best. Visit espoma.com for a retailer near you. Organic Potting Mix from Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So we got a call on the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Hey, call us. We'll take care of any questions you have. And if you make it on the air, we'll give you a free t-shirt. Lorraine called the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. She asked about a segment we did a few weeks ago about mice. And like clockwork, like we were saying, it's time for mice to start coming in. Here, listen to her call.
Yes, I would like to know the name of the mice medication for getting rid of mice. I listened to the program on Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember which, and they said it over and over and over again, but I couldn't understand it. Lorraine Talbot, thank you.
Love you, Lorraine. You know why? Because most people say, you say it so fast we didn't get it, or you didn't say it enough. Thank you for saying that I said the product name over and over. And here it goes again. It is called Mouse Magic from Bonide.
Say that 3 times fast.
Mouse Magic from Bonide. Mouse Magic from Bonide. Mouse Magic from Bonide.
You got through it.
There you go. All right. And it's a repellent. And that they're like little pouches that have a mixture of different types of things that mice just abhor, that it makes them run and go somewhere else. It's basically peppermint oil and spearmint oil. That's why anybody growing in a garden have mice in their garden, or other types of rodents. Plant spearmint and peppermint as like a border. It'll help. But that's what's in the little pouches, and that it chases the mice away. Now, I can't say that they're not going to leave your house. If you're putting them at the entrances of your house, it's going to be a barrier for sure. And during that segment, I said, and I like the concept of using, and I use myself, glue traps. And the thought of sliding a glue trap into a section of 4-inch PVC pipe, so that you don't have to handle everything, you don't have to do anything, that if you take a peek in that pipe and there's something stuck to it, you just go and just dump it out in the trash. So, again, it's Mouse Magic from Bonide. That's what you're looking for. We'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880, and we'll see you in the garden. If you're looking for a specific potting soil for your houseplants rather than just a generic professional potting soil that sometimes, let's just say, it can be a little soggy, the Cape Netic Blend Organic and Natural Indoor Houseplant Mix from Coast of Maine is what you're looking for. It's specially formulated for indoor houseplants and flowers using a coarse coconut core, that's important, perlite and aged bark to optimize drainage and aeration for robust root development. The coconut core is what true gardeners and professionals are looking to replace some of the peat moss that are in most potting soil blends. It adds a little more air around the root system without having it dry out. The peat sometimes gets a little wet. Do you have any fungus gnats flying around? That happens too. So if you've got the coconut core in your mix, it's something that's going to be better certainly for indoor houseplants. So whether you're growing peace lilies, spider plants, philodendrons, monsteras, or other popular or exotic houseplants, this unique compost-free blend provides the optimum structure and benefits for nurturing strong, beautiful indoor plants. And again, that's the Cape Netic Blend Indoor Houseplant Mix by Coast of Maine. Look for it at your local garden center. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Busy show today. Busy show. It's almost spring. I can feel it. 50s. It's going to be 50 this coming. 50s all week. Mm-hmm. Now, at night, it's going to get cold, so don't get too anxious. But we're talking about starting seeds, and we're talking about winter pruning. And I'll tell you, winter pruning, don't steer away from winter pruning. It's a great thing to do for your plants. And that your roses especially, you'll be amazed. You'll think that all of a sudden you're hacking them down. It's like, oh my gosh, there's nothing left. And then all of a sudden they'll start to grow. Their foliage will be cleaner, that they'll have better flowers and bigger flowers, and it will be an abundance of flowers. And they also, like all of your other shrubs, like we're talking about spirea a little bit, that they'll have that mounded dome of flowers that you're really looking for. So don't be scared about winter pruning. Don't be scared about winter pruning. And starting seeds, you got to do that. Look on the package on those seeds, and you work backwards. So the frost-free date is May 15th. So if it says it's going to take so many days to germinate and it's going to need to mature a little bit, you need to wait. So we're going to see you next week at the same time right here in the garden. See you in the garden.